Amen. And again, from the book of Luke, Luke 14, starting at the 25th verse and the following. Hear now the word of the Lord from the New Revised Standard Version of God's holy and precious word. Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king going out to war against another king would not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace." The word of God for the people of God.
Praise be to God.
Let us pray. O Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable only in your sight. O Lord, our strength and redeemer. People of God said, amen. 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 I want to talk real briefly about checking your commitment to Christ.
All right.
Checking your commitment to Christ. You know, I've been on this thing about commitment. You know, we talked about last week about the tragedy of excuse me.
Yeah.
In so doing, we challenge one another to re-examine our commitment levels. You remember, right?
Yes, sir.
In order to become the urban oasis that God wants us to become, in order to do the things that God has us to do, I suggested that we all need to make sure our commitment levels are in order, especially our commitment to our church. Remember?
Yeah.
In other words, I wanted us to re-examine what it means to say that we are members of Gifts of Life Ministries, and if we call ourselves members, what are we doing to support that claim? Because you know, and you do know, that the church is one of the only places where one can call herself or himself a member and absolutely do nothing to support the claim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Think about that for a moment. I want that to sink in. It's the only place that I know that you can actually call yourself a member and do absolutely nothing to support the claim. One does not have to come to worship. One does not have to come to Bible study. One does not have to come to power hour. One does not have to give financially. One does not have to serve in any ministry. One does not even have to support the mission and vision of the church. But one can still claim membership of said church. One does not have to follow through on promises. Don't have to do anything, try anything, don't have to share the time, talents, and treasures. One does not even have to help anyone, but can still claim membership in the church. You know folk like that on your job. They say they're a member of so-and-so church. You say, "Oh, well, how was the service last week?" "Well, I ain't go." "How was it the week before?" "I ain't go." "Well, you know, I ain't been in a while, but I'm still a member." And heaven forbid, some churches, you try to purge the roll, take their name off the list. Y'all been in churches like that, or you even ask about membership, they get an attitude and wonder why you trying to pick on me. So last week, I just came asking us to re-examine our commitment to the church and to our ministry here at this church. What does it mean to say that you are a member of Gifts of Life Ministry?
Yes, sir.
But then I began to think about that sermon some more, and I came to the conclusion that it hit me like a ton of bricks. Maybe for some folks, I was asking for us to do something that for some of us never been done before in the life, and that's commit to something. Then to hang on in there and see what the end's going to be.
Come on, preacher.
And that's the problem with commitment. If you ask somebody who has never committed anything to anybody in their lives, how do you expect for them all of a sudden to commit to a church? For many of us, our lives are one broken promise right after another, one lie, one busted dream after another, one failure after another. We sink and swim in a sea of regrets, broken relationships, shattered dreams, messed up credit, uncoveted relationships, all because we haven't finished anything that we have started. Degrees should be hanging on our walls by now. All we have is a few credit and a lot of student debt. Jobs making good money should have been ours. But we just had to act a fool. And they showed us the door. Relationships should have been fulfilled and bliss should have been ours. But instead of marrying Mr. or Mrs. Right, we settle for Mr. or Mrs. Right now. We could have been financially better off than we are right now today. We would have had the wherewithal to stay committed to a budget and a plan. You see, some of us, we can't commit to the church because we have not been committed to anything else in our lives.
That's it.
I felt comfortable in my assessment, in my mind, that I was going to keep down this track. I was just going to keep on writing and keep on just, all right, I got this now, really. Let me roll with this grant. Then I heard the Spirit, you haven't gone deeper. And I said to myself, I said, self. That's how I talk to myself. Self.
Self said.
What are you talking about? What do you mean I haven't gone deep enough? Spirit? Then what the Spirit was trying to get me to see is that reason why people maybe are not committed to the church, or maybe the reason why people are not committed to anything else, maybe the reason why they're not committed to the work of the church, maybe the reason why they're not committed to anything in the church, study, worship, giving. No, the real reason is maybe, just maybe, they haven't really committed to Jesus. This hurts, actually, because then we have to take it the next step. Maybe we're just not disciples after. That's what Jesus is getting at in the text. Being committed to Him.
Yeah.
Jesus wanted to check the credibility of those who traveled with Him. So He turned around and He dropped the bomb on them. They walking down, everybody's happy, and Jesus turned around. Whoever comes to me and does not hate father or mother, wife or children, brothers, sisters, yet even life itself cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you don't give up all your possessions. Where they come from? It's out of the blue. If you read the whole text, you really sometimes you think they don't even fit. It's just out of the blue. Jesus is like, Jesus just got something. Because in between the first two discipleship making policies and the last one, Jesus gives us stories and examples of being committed to drive on the point that if you do not hate family and even life itself, if you don't carry the cross and follow Him, we don't give up possessions, we cannot be a disciple of Christ. Now, can you imagine the people in the crowd that day? Been following Jesus and walking with Him all day, some for days, weeks, and probably months, and then Jesus turns around and tells them something like that. Y'all, I know some of y'all, see, I know Jesus, like, some of y'all be kind of indignant. Put your hand on your hip, What you talking about, Jesus? Look at that, like, got your lip poked out. What you talking about, Jesus? We've been following you since you stopped, man. What are you talking about? Why was Jesus questioning their commitment? Didn't he know that they were committed? Why would you say something like that, Jesus? And then say it's so strong. That's all. If you don't follow, you got to give up everything to follow. Well, look at the text. Maybe because Jesus wanted to remind them that saying you are committed to me and being committed to me are two different things. For you see, it's easy to get the crowds when Jesus is healing and feeding. Easy to get the crowd when Jesus is casting out demons and raising the dead. Easy to get the crowd when the people are blessed and nurtured. And easy to get the crowd when Jesus is standing up to the powers that be and blessing them. It's easy to get the crowd, but when Jesus says that you have to be willing to put him first, be ready to suffer, and be willing to lose everything. Then we get kind of squeamish. Is this thing gone? We begin to think about this commitment thing again, and that's what Jesus really wants us to do. Wants us to think about. Re-examine our priorities in our lives and ask the question, what does it mean for me to be a disciple of Jesus? What does it mean for me individually to be committed to Jesus? Now, we can get caught up in trying to exegete this text, trying to discern what Jesus meant by hating father and mother, and did he really mean for us to give all of our possessions away? And we can get caught up in trying to explain the passage away like many of us do, but I prefer to let the passage say what it says. Being committed to Jesus is serious business, and you ought to think about it before you decide to sign up. Then I hear somebody saying, Jesus, well, in that case, you demand a little bit too much. Your teaching is too strong. You're not being fair. Thought you want me to be blessed. The commitment level is too high, Jesus. Then I hear Jesus saying like, yeah, I understand. Like when I say, when somebody hits you on the right cheek, turn the other cheek. Like when I say, when somebody make you walk a mile, walk another mile with them. You know that thing I like to say sometimes, like, bless your enemies and pray for them that persecute you? You talking about that stuff? It is then that we realize that the bar is already high. And Jesus does not adjust it just because we got trouble getting there. That's why grace abounds. Because we don't hit the mark. We are not always the perfect disciple, and truth be told, we don't always feel like being committed to Jesus, depending on the day, time, and situation. When somebody does us wrong or hurt our feelings, we don't feel like being committed to no Jesus. When the old flames start stroking the fire that we thought we put out a long time ago. Well, Jesus, we have to get up early to make a meeting or do something in the service in the name of the Lord. Maybe we don't feel like being this committed. About them folk getting on your last nerve at work or at school. Folk messing with you. Sometimes you don't feel like being all sold in and committed to Jesus. That's why every now and then when we have to position ourselves at the altar and confess, we haven't been the committed disciple that we should have been. We have to ask for forgiveness as we continue in the journey. Because the bar is set high doesn't stop us from being, but just because rather the bar is set high, it doesn't stop us from being committed to Jesus. Because if we are not committed to Jesus, we can't be committed to the church.
Amen.
In other words, no matter how much I talk about tithing, no matter how much I say give and it shall be given unto you, no matter how much I preach weeping may endure for a night, but joy come in the morning, no matter how many times I say, for no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Every valley should be exalted and every mountain made low. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard. No matter how much I say any of that stuff, if you're not committed to Christ, It doesn't matter.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Every scripture I can quote, every persuasive appeal I can make will just go over your head. But when you're committed to Christ and believe that you're called to serve in this church, nobody will have to ask you the time. Matter of fact, you'll get upset if you can't. Nobody will have to ask you to serve. Nobody will have to ask you to sing in the choir. Nobody will have to ask you to get involved in some ministry. Nobody will have to ask you to come to Bible study, power hour, and worship. You would do this on your own, and even if you don't know something, you'll ask until you find out. It's a difference being committed to Christ and just saying you're committed. So like I did last week, no whooping and hollering, just don't walk us on out of here. I'm asking everybody in here under the sound of my voice, and I want to get this up quickly on our YouTube page, but I want to send it out to everybody who's not here. Because sometimes you feel like you're preaching to the choir already.
Yeah.
But I need everybody to re-examine, and think of myself, our commitment to our church. But in a bigger sense, if you don't do it there, do it for me here. Re-examine your commitment to Christ. Could you do more? Could you serve more? Could you give more? Could you do more? Could you be more, pray more, read more, study more, worship more? Could you be more than you are in the ministry right now if you are totally sold out to Christ? You answer yes to any of these questions privately, I want you to re-examine your commitment again to Christ. Remember, the bar is high. Remember, we don't get it right all the time. But that still doesn't stop us from being followers of the one who can help us get it right. How don't you commit to Jesus today?
Amen.
Take those two sermons together and put them together. Stand to your feet. Somebody here today. I want to invite you to come. Yeah, you can come as a candidate for baptism.